everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Good day.
Good day to you, sir.
And
Good
to you.
day.
Yeah.
I said good day.
I say good day.
Say good day.
We don't say good day to you because we're just getting started,
No.
listeners.
Yeah.
So, that was just weird.
Kind of forgot for a minute we were even
Yep,
recording.
yep, we are. It's funny because I have the recording power, so you often don't know when I start
Right.
recording, but
Right.
we are recording.
Okay.
Here we are.
She's got all sorts of stuff of us saying things we shouldn't.
I really
stocked
do.
up that
It's
she's going
pretty
to
great.
blackmail us with later.
It's true. Just a cachet of terrible things. Of times that we're like, you can cut this out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I actually delete those because I don't want any of us to have blackmail material. Like, we are all in this together.
I like that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You never know when the cloud's going to turn on you.
Yeah. Except when I cut some and then add it to the end of episodes as a secret track.
Which is my new favorite thing. It's pretty great.
So here we are. It's 1997. The year that we're talking about is 1997.
Yeah,
It's still, we haven't traveled back in time.
No.
It's still 2024.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Here
But
we
we're
are.
looking at 1997.
We are.
We're leering at it.
We are leering.
We're lurking
Or is it
around.
leering at us?
Maybe.
Yeah, it's giving us a little side eye.
Yeah.
Shall we start with some unmitigated gall, however?
I think we should.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would one of you like to go first?
I sure can.
Let's do it.
My unmitigated gall this week is myself.
Oh. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
We become self-aware again, Heath.
Yeah. See, so I mentioned before we started recording that we took our youngest child to Dave & Buster's arcade. And I consider myself a logical, calm, rational person under most circumstances. Not to say that there aren't times that I'm none of those things, but most of the time I like to think that. And we walked in there, and as a parent, parents will relate to the fact that there's this mass feeling of like ticket grabbing, because like your kid wants to play the games they want to play, but then they also want tickets at the end. And sometimes those two things don't line up. Like the games they want to play aren't as easy, all that. So as parents, sometimes we wander the perimeter and just throw a few in games to rack up the tickets. So Mike and Mason are doing these VR headset things, which I cannot do because it makes me sick to my stomach. So they're playing that, and I'm like stuck wandering around. So I find this SpongeBob coin game where you just have to hit this button and it goes through a thing. You just have to time it right, and it flies through this window, and you get tickets. That's all I thought the game was at first.
Okay.
So I figure out, I'm like just watching it, timing it, and then I hit the button, and it's just going through the window, and I'm like, this is not hard. And I look down, and every time I'm getting it through the window, I'm getting like 20 tickets. And I was like, is this supposed to be hard? Like, I don't understand what's happening. In the meantime, something spits out the bottom of the machine, and I realize it's these little like SpongeBob collectible cards.
Oh.
And I look up, and it says on the thing, each of those cards is worth 50 tickets. And it spit out 2. I don't even know why. So now I'm completely confounded by the game. So I swipe it again because I'm like, I got to understand this whole thing. What's wrong with you, Aaron, that you sat there for a solid 20 minutes just hitting that window every time?
This feels like an entry to gambling.
So much.
Yeah.
So much. It felt so wrong that I was this desperate. There was a card on the edge that I was like, well, I got to keep going. That card's mine. That 50 tickets is mine. I don't know if there was a line. I never looked. I never looked. I was sitting on a stool like an old school gambler. If you could smoke in there, I probably would have taken it up in that amount of time.
You were going to get tennis elbow after a while. Just
It was just this little motion. Finally, they get done with the VR headset and come over, and Mike's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I have one more card to get. I was like, oh, man. This quickly, I have devolved into this.
So that's seriously all the game was?
Yeah. If you just time it, like you just had to wait until you could see on the screen when it was past a certain point, and that's right when you hit the button, it went in every time. And so I was like, I don't know if I've hacked this game. I don't know. But I'm in.
Wow. I think this is the first of multiple conversations we're going to have, Heath, where, suddenly, like a week from now, she's going to be like, listen, I need to borrow some money.
Listen, I am so close to that 12th SpongeBob card, and I'm going to need it now.
If we record the next episode of this at Dave & Buster's, listeners, you'll know. You'll know.
Yeah.
You're going to have to meet me at the B&B's because I got to get my SpongeBob cards.
That's right. We're never going to see her in this house again. We always have to go to her.
What I liked about it at the end, Mike was like, can you refrain from bragging about how many tickets you got to our child
No.
while he's, and I was like, oh no, when we get the total, I'm going to be sure and tell him 3/4 of those are mine.
Yeah. That's just good mothering right there.
And that's absolutely what I did.
Yeah.
I was like, congratulations, you can get that because I racked up some tickets.
Yeah, soon you're going to be one of the Prairie Meadows folk.
It felt like it got there quick.
Yeah.
It got there quick. The whole atmosphere, and apparently I cannot be left on my own in places like that is what I've learned, is that I am.
Soon we're going to see your fashion change, and we're going to...
What does a, like...
I don't know. I'm just picturing my great-grandmother all of a sudden.
Okay.
Where it's just like very like curly hair and slacks. Got to be wearing slacks.
I'm going to get dressy for my...
You got to get dressy.
Okay.
You got to wear open-toe sandals with some hose. Some
done,
hosiery.
Done. Okay.
And you got to have your cigarette always there.
Yep. And my social security check, and I am gambling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's how it felt. And then I was like, this place is dangerous, and we need to leave. There's some things going on in here.
Well, I'm glad the gall is you because, you revealed some
It was awful.
potential gambling
When I got back in the
tendencies.
car, I thought, who are you? We need to go home. I don't feel good.
You had to take yourself home.
I did. I was like, I need to remove myself from this. How dare I? Because I feel like I didn't yell at any child, but I feel like it was there.
Oh, that would have been better, though, if
Yeah.
you had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, to be fair though, if you leave Dave and Buster's and don't feel bad, like that's
didn't-
also a problem.
That's a good
like
point.
you
Yeah,
should
yeah,
feel kind of
okay.
bad.
Yeah.
when you
That's a
leave Dave
good
and
point.
Buster's.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a really good point. Yeah. All right. I'm glad we're back from the end. Yeah.
All right, Heath, how about you?
I think my unmitigated gall, maybe it's my age, but I'm going to present it differently.
Okay.
It's just that I'm tired of smart things helping me out.
Oh.
I'm tired of my Apple Watch offering me suggestions. I'm tired of it at 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning saying, hey, your rings aren't very far along. It's like, you know what, asshole? It's Saturday.
you!
You're a watch. You know it's Saturday. You know what time it is. Like,
What?
yeah. You know, I'm tired of that. I'm tired of it telling me to stand up when I haven't been standing up enough. And it's like, I stand up plenty, babe.
Yeah.
Wow.
The get up and walk around, that one really pisses me off.
I think we had this conversation with Haley and Maggie where I don't have any of that on my phone. Somehow I deliberately shut that all off. I don't remember how, but I live a way better life because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did manage to turn off Amber Alerts on my phone.
Oh, I did too somehow, but I don't know how.
And I was in a meeting at work, like in an actual room with people, and everybody else's phones went off but mine, and they all kind of looked at me, and I'm like, I can't find this child. I'm not going to stop what I'm doing to go look for this kid.
I'm not going to go out to the streets in the woods.
Yeah, like, I mean, I did that, I think once it did it in the middle of the night, and it's just like, listen, if somebody's hearing an Amber Alert on their phone in the middle of the night and they get up to go look for that child, that's not who you want looking for that
No,
child.
that's not who you want. That's
No.
a looky-loo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that the word? It absolutely is. But I don't know why that just took me back. So yeah, your things have got an attitude.
Yeah. And I just feel
not
like
good.
I feel
Judging.
I feel judged. I do. I feel judged and I feel harshly criticized.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
And you run marathons.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, half.
But you run like every
Okay.
day, so it's judging
Distinction
you.
without a difference. A half marathon. Okay, I ran half of a step.
I think I hustled across the street the other day,
What?
and it felt like, oof, that was a lot.
That was some
Ooh,
effort.
I'm feeling myself.
I am 2 steps away from half.
Well, if my watch had been around when you did that, it probably would have been like, nice try, bitch.
That's not enough.
You know, that's funny because there might be an app idea in there. Get like some really sassy technology. I bet
Yeah.
some people would really like that.
That's very true.
Get your ass
Yeah.
up.
I
Like
want
you
that.
sent me a GPS one time that you can record your friend's voice saying things like
Turn you
around."
dumb bitch.
Yeah. She offered and I was like, done. I would love that.
I think we should be each other's GPS
Yeah.
voices. Yeah.
Yeah, that could be a side hustle.
Yeah.
Yeah, listeners, if you want us to be your GPS voices, just DM us.
Check
We'd
to
get
cash.
it. Yeah, exactly. It's funny we haven't received any checks to cash yet, but
Yeah.
we will.
We
Damn
will.
it. We're
We will.
manifesting this shit.
Yeah.
Well, my unmitigated gall is kind of inspired by and stolen from your husband.
Oh.
Because as I said, I'm often preparing these notes on our Friday mornings where we're doing coffee. And I said to him, like, oh, man, I'm not sure what my gall is this week. And he's like, I've got one. And I said, okay. And he said, it's music pumped into public places. Like you're walking. He was specifically talking about Court Avenue. Like when you walk by those like patios that are closed down, but there's still music being pumped by. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's annoying. But then it got me thinking, and he also said like in front of Jordan Creek Mall, where it's just music blasting as you walk in the doors. Yeah. And he's like, this
That's how it was at Dave & Buster's. There was the basketball game outside before you even got in.
So I went a little further and I said, when you hear your high school rage music being played at high V overhead or something.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like, don't you dare play Nirvana as if it's easy listening. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Actually, though, like any store that's playing music over, and Michael actually had a good point, like Barnes & Noble has killed Ella Fitzgerald because it's actually like decent music, but it just plays it over and over. So it's just this background bullshit, you know, and no one's paying attention. And I don't know the answer because I think it'd be really jarring if you walk into a store, there's just dead noise and there's no music whatsoever.
Right.
But it's really jarring to hear the music too. So I don't know the answer. I don't know the solution. I'm just telling you my gall.
It always messes with my head, like early in the morning when I'm at the Y, and they have like the bus, which is sort of a classic rock station in Des Moines that they play, but they're playing a song that came out like 10 years after I graduated high school. And I'm just like, that can't be classic rock.
No.
Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Or like I'm in Whole Foods and they're playing like Rage Against Machine as kitschy nostalgia. I'm like, no, that's not, it's not cool. So I feel like the only exception is maybe like a record store where they're playing stuff and then you get turned on to cool music. Like there's like, oh, that's cool. And I'm here and I can buy it.
Yeah.
This makes good sense.
Yep.
But everywhere else, it's just doing music a disservice. Yeah.
I was thinking, wow, we might have just created a new genre of music. Like if I was musically talented, you could just create store music.
Yeah.
And sell it. And just be like, this is solely to play in the background of your store so that it's not scary because it's quiet, but it's not ruining people's musical loves.
Well, and when, Michael and I are doing like coffee shops on Friday mornings, it's often very different. You go to different coffee shops and sometimes there's a very cool vibe. And so it's kind of cool what you're hearing. We were at the Hotel Fort Des Moines lobby and it was just pumping in like old school Frank Sinatra and big band. And it was very jarring. And it was also just like, they're really trying hard for like a vibe. And it was 9 a.m. on a Friday morning and we didn't need that vibe.
No.
It felt like it was cocktail hour. And
Yeah.
no. So that's my goal.
It's a good one.
Thank you. So I share half the credit, I guess, with your husband, but I don't want to really share all of it.
Don't. No,
Okay.
Good.
No. I think it's
That'll
yours.
cause me a bunch of problems at home if you do share too
Listen,
much.
good podcasters are like good journalists. You found the story. It doesn't matter where it came from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We take inspiration from everywhere.
Yes.
That's what writing is. We steal it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're around us, just know we're sponges and we're taking it all.
We are taking it all in and we are watching your behavior. And you might show up. You might show up as gall.
You might show up as gall.
Be warned.
Yeah, be warned. All right, so should we dive into 97?
1997.
Erin, do you have something for us?
I do. There's a lot of stuff that happened this year.
Yeah.
But something that I didn't realize, but that I feel like I wish I had known at the time. And now I appreciate even more because we're coming off of Super Bowl weekend. We're coming off of lots of football, right? And that seems to be America's pastime, as they call it. I don't know who's... Anyway.
I don't know who's making those choices, but...
Yeah, I don't know about that. But on November 10th in 1997, pandemonium broke out at the vets. Pandemonium.
That's a lot of syllables.
Right? I really emphasized all the syllables. Broke out at Vet Stadium in Philadelphia. That's what Lincoln Center Stadium, which is in Philadelphia where the Eagles play, used to be called Vet Stadium. The Eagles are playing the 49ers, and someone set off a flare gun to the other section, right? Not great. Not great choices.
Like a fan shut it?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep. And then fisticuffs broke out everywhere.
Oh.
And they had just more than they could handle. They had way too many people fighting. They couldn't get it under control. And so what they thought was like, we need a solution to rowdy football people.
Oh, no.
specifically at the Philadelphia Stadium, apparently. And so some brainiacs got in a room.
Oh, no. Is it a marketing meeting?
They said, I guess, but
Yeah.
this went dark fast, and
Okay.
clearly no one pumped the brakes. But they said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to open a jail and a courtroom
What?
in the Philadelphia Stadium. Yeah.
What?
A jail and a courtroom.
How do they even have the parking for that?
And unruly fans can be taken to jail in the stadium, and then judges who volunteer on game days can hear the case and dole out punishments, right?
How drunk are these judges?
I would imagine.
If it's game day.
Well, we'll just take a side
Okay,
tour real
okay.
quick, and then we'll come back. The main judge in charge of this, Judge Seamus Patrick McCaffrey.
Nope.
Seamus, yeah. Yeah, you had to know something was going down. Later in 2014, he had to resign after he was found to have sent 234 pornographic emails to an employee in the Attorney General's
Yeah,
office.
that sounds right. That sounds right.
He agreed to retire so he could
234.
keep his retirement, his pension, of course, because we wouldn't want to take his pension
God,
away.
no.
I mean, it's just a little porn. In
Yeah.
It's not, you know.
It's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, that's no big
Exactly.
deal. So that's who's leading this, right?
Okay.
So most of the crimes were things like sneaking in alcohol, selling towels in the bathroom, or
Were they selling towels?
What are you in
Were they
for,
doing
selling
something?
towels?
yeah, I don't know. That's what it said. There were no quotes, but I kind of put quotes on selling towels.
Okay.
And disorderly behavior. And then if it was more serious, an actual, like, an additional court date would be scheduled. But most of the time, they were just fined, like, anywhere from $150 to $300 and then community service and sent
is
out
this
of the
legal?
stadium. No idea, but they went through the process to make it happen. My favorite part about this, though, was that there was a quote from the Philadelphia Recreation Commissioner at the time about whether or not this was working. He said, and I quote, "I think it helped restore relative order." Yeah, the vet had a relative order.
The way that you said relative twice
Yeah.
clues me into probably
It
didn't.
didn't work.
It didn't work.
Because in 2003, when the vet stadium was rebranded to what it is today, and opened under its current name, then they got rid of it because they said it wasn't really working like they anticipated. Because after they did it, then things kind of settled down. And so then there wasn't, like, judges were sitting there and there wasn't the traffic. And so they're like, we can't really justify the cost, so we'll stop it. But that blew my mind that we had a court and a jail in a football stadium. And that seemed perfectly reasonable at the time.
Is that where the Iowa State Fair got its idea for State Fair jail, do you
Probably.
think?
I would
Probably.
imagine.
Because how's that legal either?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand this.
I know.
We're just taking the law in our own hands.
Yeah, just citizens arrest all over the place at a football stadium. But
Also, the part about charging fines seems real dicey, that this isn't like a legal situation.
well, and then, I don't know. I didn't do that deep of a dive, but I wonder jurisdiction, like, where is that fine going to? Is it going to the state?
Yeah.
Is it going to the
Yeah.
county? Is it going to the stadium? Is it going to the judge? Like, what are
Right.
where's that money going? But things about football never cease to amaze me.
Oh,
like
yeah.
the parameters and the things that we put around it. And this one I was like, wow, some things never change. Because, like, this wouldn't surprise me if this came out now. Like, I would be like, that tracks. But I love that they tried this and we're like, oh, well, that didn't work like we thought. Really?
Also, just the expectation of rowdy behavior at games. Like, I know this is not just U.S. I mean, UK has a long history of, hooliganism at matches. But, like,
football.
yes. But even, like, I'm even thinking, so at this time, I was at University of Iowa, right? And so, like, starting maybe my sophomore year, so, like, 96 and 97 season, I was getting student tickets and I was going to the game all the time. And in the student section, it's like two big, the stadium's redone now, but two big, like, whole sections devoted to students. And it was just chaos. Like, when they open the doors, everyone runs to the bottom so they can get closest to the field. And in 96 and 97, things got wild. Like, Hayden Fry was still coach, and, like, there were situations where, like, somebody brought, like, a hog's head and, like, threw it on the field. Like, it was getting weird.
Like an actual...
hog's
no.
head. But
Seems unhygienic.
That doesn't seem right.
the punishment that they came up with is that you could no longer sing "In Heaven There Is No Beer" during the game. You had to wait until the game was over to sing that. And that was their reaction to the hog throwing incident.
This is so interesting because Beth just tried to explain to me 2 weeks ago that that's an actual song. In heaven there is no beer. That's why we drink it here. She's like, it's an Iowa Hawkeye song. I was like, never heard that.
Oh.
Like, we made merciless shit out of her. So now I'm going to have to eat crow.
You're going to have to eat crow because that is a real thing and it dates back a long time.
Well, she then she has a sweatshirt apparently she was given at some point. She brought it the next time that has that saying on it. And I was like, that proves nothing.
No. In heaven there is no beer. That's why we drink it here. And now the rest of the words have escaped my mind. But there's a number of lyrics, Erin.
Wow. I didn't know that was such a long storied history. Hogs heads,
Yeah.
Is that the moment you became vegan?
I didn't see any of that.
Okay.
Also, like, the entire student section is just wasted. So, like, we, and we snuck in alcohol and everything. And so they cracked down on alcohol rules. And yeah, it was.
Number one crime in Philly court.
I've never been to a NFL football game in person. I have been to an Iowa Hawkeyes game. It was probably maybe 2018, 2019 we went the day after Thanksgiving. It was very cold. It was very rainy.
Oh. A bunch of us were going to go, and I was like,
everyone kind of canceled.
Yeah.
But it was Travis and Michael and I remember I was waiting in line for something at the concession stand. I think I was getting hot chocolate or something like that. And there was a woman who was so drunk, and this was like at 11 in the morning.
Yep.
Oh, no.
She put her face underneath the ranch dispenser from the cheese curd stand and was just pumping ranch right into her mouth.
I want her to go to jail for that.
And the person working the cheese curd stand just looked at her like he had seen this 19 times already that day. Like, he didn't care. He didn't say anything. He was just like, it's easier to just let her finish up.
Was she an adult or like college age?
I would guess she was in her mid to late 20s.
Okay, so still an adult. And okay. Wow.
And I don't think this was like maybe partway through the first quarter. I mean, this was not, she didn't make it into that game.
No,
well, and they don't sell alcohol, or at least they didn't used to. So you had to do like 3 or 4 hours of tailgating before you got into the game.
I think they sell it in the stadium now.
Do they?
I think they do. I think they changed that.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Football.
Mm-hmm.
So, football jail.
It sounds like the premise for kind of an iffy TV show.
I was actually, when she was talking, I was thinking about if you were like a judge on one of those shows and we were your bailiffs, and I kind of liked that. Like, just you doling out the punishment.
Yes.
That would make a good show, though. Amy somehow ends up as the judge in football court.
Yes.
And she doesn't really want to be there.
When she said the hooliganism, I was like, oh, she's made for TV judge right there. Well, we're just bailiffs in the corner and be like, she said it. That's your punishment.
And I get somehow like some puns or something about in heaven there is no beer. Like I get all into it.
You get everything.
But then when someone quizzes me on the rules of football, I'll be like,
that's not what's on trial here. That's not on trial. That's not on trial. That's when we jump in. No.
I like it. Football justice.
Yeah.
Amy Lillard. Yep.
Your parents would never be more proud.
Oh my God.
That's actually true, though, right? Like, we're not even kidding.
Yeah, and I wasn't joking. I was like, your dad was like front and center every episode.
I would have made it in his.
Yeah.
All right, Heath, what do you got?
You may recall in 1997, it was the heyday of the must-see TV era.
Ooh, sure was.
Yep.
Yes, it was.
Thursday nights on NBC had Friends, it had Seinfeld, it had ER. All TV shows that regularly attracted between like 25 and 35 million viewers. And so for comparison now, the top rated show on NBC on Thursday nights is Law & Order SVU with about 4.7 million viewers.
Wow.
So that's just to kind of give you some perspective there. So, and everyone remembers Friends. We all remember Seinfeld. We all remember ER. But I want to talk about the other shows that aired on NBC on Thursday nights. Friends was always on at 7. Seinfeld was on at 8. ER was on at 9, Central Time anyway. And for, 5-6 years, they just tried to fill in those other 2 gaps with shows, and they were
wedging stuff
almost always garbage. And I don't know how. I don't know what the thinking was. If they were like, this is the garbage show, we'll put it on between Friends and ER and people will watch it. Or if they were just like, maybe, I don't know. I don't know why they kept doing it. They kept failing. So what I've got here is I've got a list of some of those shows.
Yes.
And I would like you to chime in and tell me if you remember any of these.
Okay.
Okay. Hope and Gloria.
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
What was that?
Was that Kelly Ripa?
No.
Oh.
This was about backstage life at a daytime talk show. The host of that show was Alan Thicke, R.I.P.
Oh, nope. Sorry. I was thinking, was that Raising Hope? Maybe that was Kelly Ripa's.
No.
Oh.
I know the one you're talking about. It's her and the gal from Murphy Brown.
Yeah.
And I think Hope was in the title.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're 0 for 1.
0-0. Yep.
How about Madman of the People?
Oh my God.
What?
This had Dabney Coleman, and he was a newspaper columnist.
Wow.
The boss from 9 to 5 as a newspaper columnist.
Okay. Uh-huh.
This one you might remember, the single guy.
Who was in it?
Was it that guy Jonathan something?
Jonathan Silverman.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it's funny that the most kind of generic title we've run into so far
Yes,
is the one,
is the one that we
the one
remember.
people
Yeah,
remember.
yeah.
This one you might remember, Caroline in the City.
Yes, I loved that one.
Yep.
Was that Leah?
Yes,
Leah
she was
Thompson?
a
Yeah.
cartoonist.
Yes.
Yes.
What about Boston Common?
I remember the name, but I don't think I ever watched it.
No, who was in that?
Comedian Anthony Clark played they describe him as a country bumpkin who follows his sister into the city because she's
Also-
going to college and he's like protecting her or whatever.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Sounds awful.
Bad premise. Yeah.
What about Suddenly Susan?
Oh yes. That was
Yeah.
wait, was that Brooke Shields?
Yes.
Okay.
Kathy Griffin is in there.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember during the Summer Olympics in 1996, they promoted the fuck out of the show. Every 20 minutes, Brooke Shields was on the TV being like, I got a new sitcom coming out. Like every 20 minutes. I got tired of it before the show even started.
That must have worked because that one was on for a while, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah.
Those are the two things I remember from the 96
Yes.
Olympics is Carrie Strug's foot and Brooke Shields.
And Brookfield Suddenly Susan ad.
How about The Naked Truth?
Yep. That was a journal. Weren't they journalists
Yeah.
or something?
Taya Leone was a tabloid
Yes.
reporter.
Taya Leone, yep.
Yeah.
I think I watched some of these in like syndication later on. Maybe
Yeah.
not like on Thursday night.
Here's another one, Union Square.
No.
Yep. This was just a group of New Yorkers hanging out at a place that was a lot like Central Park, but it
So
was a
it's
diner.
Friends.
Right.
It's, okay.
Friends with a different it's a different coffee shop.
Right.
What about Veronica's Closet?
Yes. That was Kirstie Alley, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. She was she ran a Victoria's Secret type lingerie
right.
empire.
Monica's Closet.
Do you remember Stark Raving Mad?
Yeah, that was Neil Patrick Harris?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
And Tony Shalhoub was in it.
Oh
Monk.
my gosh,
Yep.
yes.
Wow.
How about Daddy-O?
Oh God.
Sure don't.
Oh God.
Michael Chiklis played, I assume, someone's father.
I hope
The
so.
commish.
Oh my gosh, the commish.
Daddy-o.
Yeah, and then I mean, there's more of them. Battery Park, Cursed, Inside Schwartz, Leap of Faith, Good Morning Miami, Coupling. These were all shows.
Oh my God.
This list is so long. I didn't even include all of them on the list.
Wasn't
There so many
Coupling
of
the
them.
one where they were trying to adapt a UK show and it
Yes.
went real bad real fast?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And it was kind of, I mean, it was sort of, it looked way too much like Friends. It was like
Yeah.
6 people and, yeah. So, and also, the other thing, my only other takeaway from Must See TV is I distinctly remember in the summer of 1997, NBC kept promoting Must See TV, but since they were all reruns in the summer, it always ended the promo with, if you haven't seen it, it's new to you. And it's like,
I remember that too.
like, no shit, Sherlock.
That felt very patronizing too. It's new to you.
So yes, Must See TV.
Wow.
We'll never have that again, everybody. We'll never have something like that
boy.
again.
No, you really won't because they would never like that many shows that they roll out that don't.
And each one was like super hyped, right? And it was like, this is gonna be the one. It feels like I really want a clue into those marketing meetings. Like, okay, guys,
Yep.
this is it. 16 of them have failed. What's the next one?
Yeah.
What's the 17th idea?
I have to say, in this year of 2024, I'm still amazed when I see like a new sitcom being advertised.
Yeah.
Like, you're still trying.
We're still
Like,
doing it.
with
Still doing it.
streaming being able to do so much more with a situational comedy, the fact that people are still trying to do it in 22 minutes and put it out on one of the major networks just blows my mind sometimes.
Yeah, because you don't. I mean, TV shows don't really make money until they've been on the air for like 5 or 6 seasons,
Right,
and they can
the
start selling them into
syndication.
syndication.
Yeah.
So it's just such a huge gamble.
which is it makes sense then that they have just 15 SVUs and like 16 CSIs because they're all proven and you can just keep churning them out for season and season and season.
Or game shows that take an hour that could be done in 20 minutes. Yeah, that just filling that time, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my first item from 1997 was the premiere of a special little show on VH1 called Behind the Music.
Yes.
I literally saw this and was like, someone's else, one of these other two is covering
Is this on your
Nope.
list? Okay.
Nope.
So,
But this is, I remember when Lisa Left Eye Lopez taught me record math from from Behind the Music.
I mean, this became really like a big deal. And okay, it was an hour-long documentary series, and it literally took fans behind the music of, TLC or like any band you could think of, any musician. Sometimes it was like of the moment musicians, sometimes it was more established people. And it was an immediate hit, and over the next several years, it covered like all different genres and eras, and it says from like the 70s to the early 2000s. But it had a pattern, right? Mm-hmm. It was like the meteoric rise, and then drugs and all the sex, and then the fall, right? And then the rise again, and here we are. And because it had that pattern, like you got used to it, and it kind of felt comforting in a way, but then it made it very parodiable, if that's a word. It made it better to be parodied.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying.
Got there. Yeah.
And my favorite parody of that is Will Ferrell playing a psychotic Neil Diamond in Behind the Music. And it came out probably around here, maybe like a year or two after this. I even looked for it on YouTube and I couldn't find it.
Really?
So I don't know where this thing is. You use your research powers and you find it.
Okay.
But
are you talking to me or the listener?
I'm talking to you.
Okay. It sounded very directive.
You always find all the stuff.
Yeah.
But in that SNL clip, he's like a Neil Diamond he's telling the stories behind the songs, but they're always something real bizarre. Like, you just don't know. And my favorite line is like, let me tell you about this time I killed a drifter to get an erection. So if anything, I mean, Behind the Music, it kept going for a long time. It was chugging along. Yeah. And it was, it gave us lots of behind the music tidbits. Mm-hmm. But then it also gave us all this great, SNL fodder.
I distinctly, I mentioned the TLC one, and Lisa Left Eye Lopez explained in record math, because everyone was like, how could you declare bankruptcy when you had the #1 song in the country?
Yeah.
And it was so interesting, and she was so clear on how she did it. And I remember that one specifically, and I remember Shania Twain's episode.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, I mean, she had kind of a tragic upbringing. Like, her parents were killed in a car accident. She was kind of responsible for raising her siblings and stuff. But the other thing I remember specifically from her episode is that her name, Shania, means on my way in Ojibwe. And I, for some reason, pulled that out of thin air one day and told Michael that. And now whenever he's like on his way home from something, he'll just text me. He'll just write Shania. And that's how I know he's on his way home.
That's great.
Uh-huh.
That is great.
Yeah.
Behind the Music.
Mm-hmm. God, I mean, they had a lot of those like that. I mean, the Chicks did one, and
I mean, it was country music, it was rock music, it was pop music, it was everything.
They were great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for a while, like, I remember maybe after this, they had so many that they would sometimes do marathons of them. Like, there's just so many. And it was something you could easily sink into. Before the days, I think, the real big days of like reality TV, like this was sort of not necessarily mindless, but like easy to watch kind of stuff.
I mean, it was great. I mean, it was like free publicity for. I mean, record labels certainly loved that their artists got to do this, and it probably didn't cost them any money.
I do wonder like how much of Behind the Music was true and how much not. Like that SNL parody where he's talking about what's behind the music, and it's always something real fucked up. Like, I wonder if maybe there's more fucked up stuff, but they were like, oh, this was about the time I was inspired by a tree or something like that,
Yeah, they
made it artistic or whatever. Yeah.
It makes you wonder how many publicists or record execs were kind of standing off camera, kind of directing what you can say. I saw a clip recently of Mariah Carey being interviewed by Tabitha Soren.
Oh my gosh.
But the clip was Mariah Carey's publicist was off camera, and her and Tabitha Soren were just tearing into each other because she did not like the questions Tabitha Soren was asking Mariah Carey. And Mariah Carey's just kind of sitting there with this blank look on her face. She's like, you guys, can we just, she's just trying to keep the peace and like, can we just wrap this up? And, and Tamara's always like, you've been a fucking nightmare this whole time. Like, not to Mariah Carey, to the publicist.
That's probably what every interaction
That's what I want.
like
That's
with
the behind the
musicians.
scenes I want now.
Yes.
It's like the untold behind the scenes scenes.
Yeah.
Tabitha Soren, I can picture her so
like,
well.
she didn't come unraveled. Like, at least not on
No,
camera
she was always
normally.
very steady.
Yeah.
Her and Kurt Loder.
Yeah, Kurt Loder.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, my next one for 1997 is a classic. It's a crime.
Oh, of course it is.
Yeah, it's the murder of Gianni Versace.
I knew you were going to pick this
Yeah,
one.
in 1997, because obvious crime, and I had to go there.
Yeah.
And I watched the American Crime Story, and if you haven't on this, the one that Ryan Murphy did, it's phenomenal. So there's probably nothing I'm going to tell you that you don't already know if you watch.
But this was a wild story. It caught our
Yes.
attention
Yeah.
in 1997.
It did, because
Yeah.
I remember, I was a couple years in high school at this point, and I remember this vividly. I remember the news about it and the kind of like shock and like, how could this happen right outside his house? And why was he targeted? There was just so much surrounding it for it to come out to be kind of what it was, which was almost not a crime of opportunity, but almost like in a definitely a stalker way, but not what everyone assumed, I think, when they first heard it. So obviously it's one of the most infamous crimes in the history of South Florida because he was so famous and
that's saying something. I mean, South Florida's a fucking mess.
There's
Right?
a lot of crime.
you're talking, we got a lot of things going on there. So yeah, but good job, DeSantis on Disney. You're killing it. Really going after the hard hitters there. So even though he was known globally for his fashion designs, he was mainly known in that area for his iconic mansion on Ocean Drive, which is not where he was gunned down. That's where he was killed, was right on the steps. But now I looked up, and that is actually a place you can rent for weddings, or you can stay there, like in the mansion. Yeah, it's like a bed and breakfast / event venue. So I don't know.
Dirty.
You can rent the Scream house, the house where the finale in Scream.
What?
You can rent that and stay there. Like, it's on Airbnb, or it was for a while. I'm not sure if it still is, but
Could you do that? Could you stay there?
I wouldn't mind driving by or maybe even walking in. I'm not sleeping there. There's no fucking
hell
way I'm
no.
sleeping there.
Okay.
no.
I was like, there's no way I could sleep there. Like, I know it's a movie, and I couldn't sleep there.
Yeah.
There's
Or
no
anything
way.
where there's been a very public thing, not necessarily even of ghosts or whatever, but just like because everyone knows this
Right.
place, like
Yeah.
who knows what people will do.
That's
and,
true. You're kind of a sitting duck if you're, So he was 50 at the time. He was fatally shot by a man named Andrew Cunanan, who was 27. And he was already the target of a nationwide manhunt because he had killed 4 other men across the country before he finalized here. And one of the main things that was kind of came out of this was some kind of changes in police work, because when Andrew came to the area, he pawned some gold coins that were registered to one of his victims. And had there been more computer systems at the time, or had they been working together better, they would have figured that out when he first came to the area and possibly stopped it before this. But because everything was paper, they do pawn shops report everything to the police, but it took so much longer. That is eventually where they found him, because he gave his actual address of where he was staying in South Beach. So they were able to track him down through that, but it was after the fact. So unfortunately, that was one of the things that kind of came out of this, was some deeper look at police work and how can, counties and places talk together better or work better together. So they really didn't come up with a clear motive. I mean, there's a lot of speculation. There's, if you watch the American Crime Story, they kind of have a theory in there, but they weren't able to really come up with anything definitive because he shot himself before they found him. He committed suicide on a houseboat. So they never really got down to they could kind of backtrack his steps and be like, well, this is what we think he did, but we never really knew why. And I think that's partially why it stayed kind of in the zeitgeist for so long, is because it feels a little pointless.
Yeah.
Like, what was the ultimate goal? So it's an interesting story. It's a sad story. But like I said, the American Crime Story version of it's amazing. If you don't know anything else about the murder, just kind of about his life and his relationship with his family. And
Didn't Penelope Cruz play Donatella Versace in that?
yeah, she did. She did a really good job.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's an interesting story too. Like, their dynamic is an interesting one, of her kind of having to take it over, and being somewhat of a kind of silenced partner prior to that. So there was, I mean, she faced criticism because there were times that people thought maybe she had a hand in it because she stood to gain the most, really, after he passed. But 1997. And I have vivid memories of seeing this on TV, watching, programs about it. And I also remember there being sort of all these conspiracy theories just under the surface that like no one was talking about that seemed sinister, made it darker. Not that it isn't already dark, but,
It's
seemed to have an
interesting
aura.
because, like, obviously right now our world is one of online conspiracies everywhere.
Yeah.
And I wonder if in some of these early days of the internet, when there was something like this, if there were like a lot of forums and stuff where people were, throwing around these conspiracy theories, but it just hadn't reached the, the level that the internet obviously is now.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
we weren't seeing a lot of that, but I imagine there was a lot of hubbub.
Yeah.
on the webs.
Absolutely. And there was a lot of conspiracy theories about it. There was a lot of like retracing of steps of who he had killed before and like, why did he do that? And, kind of trying to figure out his motive. There's a lot of questions about whether he did it on his own. There's different theories about that, whether or not he acted solely by himself or had help.
I am now thinking of Maya Rudolph's Donatella Versace.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking about now.
That's a good one too. Yeah.
Shut up!
All right, what do you got, Heath?
Let's talk about some movies from 1997.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So several times in the 80s and 90s, there were pairs of movies were released very close to each other that were kind of about the same thing. Like in the late 80s, you had one movie called like Father Like Son with Dudley Moore and Kirk Cameron. That piece of shit. Were in that one. And then like the next year, Vice Versa, starring Fred Savage and Judge Reinhold came out.
Yes.
Both movies were about, a dad and their son kind of swapping bodies.
The Judge Reinhold one was far superior.
Yes. Everyone, if you're smart, you take Judge Reinhold over Dudley Moore
Obviously.
any day of the week.
Yeah.
In 1998, there was Deep Impact and Armageddon, and they were about meteors on collision course with Earth. But in 1997, we had a pair of volcano movies.
Oh, yeah.
The first one came out in February of that year and was called Dante's Peak. It starred Pierce Brosnan. He was in between Bond movies.
Yep.
And Linda Hamilton. And it was set in Washington State, where a long dormant volcano seems to be coming back to life. They noticed that this is the conclusion they're drawing because they noticed some dead trees, dead squirrels, and 2 people boiled to death in a hot spring.
Whoa!
And they almost immediately figure out that, like, it's a dormant volcano. It's coming back to life. I would have
So
guessed...
those are the pieces that
Yes.
you put together.
I would have guessed teens.
Yeah.
That would have been my whole...
Tomfoolery. Yeah.
The second movie was simply called Volcano, and it starred Tommy Lee Jones and Anne Heche,
Oh, my God. Yeah.
and it was released in April of that year.
What a fucked up combo.
So that movie is about a volcanic eruption in Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Specifically, the La Brea Tar Pits is a dormant volcano.
No.
And it's about the first responders who are attempting to kind of direct the lava flow away from people's homes. So just before the movie came out, Anne Heche came out
Oh, yeah.
and started dating Ellen DeGeneres. And they were asked to not attend the premiere. But they did it anyway. And they were asked to leave before the movie ended. Which is wild, because that seems like shit from like the 1950s that would happen. But this happened like not that long ago. And I mean, it's as if lesbians in attendance was even one of the top 100 problems with this fucking movie.
Yeah, what are they going to do? Just show their lesbianism.
Right.
Convert
And
everyone.
if people were just like glued to Volcano too,
Right.
like that was the big blockbuster.
Yeah.
They weren't going to like start scissoring in the audience or anything, everybody. For Christ's sake.
That would have
If
made
they
it better.
did, that would have been great.
Yeah.
So besides all the other similarities these movies already had, they both had what I like to call an unlikely hero scene. In Dante's Peak, a group of people are running away from the lava, and they're using a motorboat to kind of go across this lake, right? And their boat's just about to shore, but stops because this is science. I've got science for you.
Okay.
The sulfuric gases dissolving in the water create sulfuric acid, which destroys the motor and starts corroding the boat, right? So they're like, they can see the shore, right? And they're just like, oh my God, we're all going to die. So this old lady in the boat.
I wish there were moments where listeners could see our skeptical faces because we're just not speaking because we're like, what?
What?
Yeah.
Wait, I was already there with rowboat sulfuric
Yeah,
acid. I was like, wait, this is our only option.
Yeah, okay.
So the old lady in the boat gets out of the boat to push it the rest of the way to the shore. But, then she gets burned up by sulfuric acid.
Of
And she dies.
Shoot. That unlikely hero.
Shoot.
Yep. So meanwhile, in the other volcano movie, the one in LA, a group of people are stuck in the LA subway with lava approaching, right?
Oh, no.
So the rescue team gets everybody off the subway except for the driver. And Stan, who normally works in an office with Tommy Lee Jones,
Obviously.
picks up the driver as if he is carrying him over the threshold of their wedding and jumps from the subway car into about a foot of lava, but then walks the driver safely to safety as his own legs melt.
I bet there were a lot of close-ups on his face as he's trying to get through that lava.
Yeah. And again, I'm no scientist, but I think if you jumped in lava, you'd just fucking disintegrate into a puff of smoke.
Yeah.
I don't think it's just a slow melt.
No.
It'd be like you were coming out of a vape pen.
I mean-
That's how you're going.
In The Lord of the Rings, the ring is destroyed in seconds. A goddamn gold ring.
Yep.
Humans.
I have questions about, this just brings up climate change for me in the sense that why are we always attacking public transportation? We want more people to use it, yet we're getting caught by lava. We're getting caught by hurricanes.
Yes.
We got serial killers. We're always killing people in public transportation.
Always.
That is not helping the messaging.
No.
It's not.
And I've never seen lava on the
Never
Chicago
seen
L.
lava.
Never saw it.
Not yet.
No, well, that's true. That's a good point.
So yeah, as you may have guessed, volcanoes lose in both of these movies.
Damn it, I was rooting for the volcanoes.
Yep,
Shoot.
they do. And I think
Well, they did get that guy's legs, so.
Damn,
that's true.
That's true, they did.
So the only conclusion we can draw is that volcanoes are pussies.
Done.
There were a lot of those, like,
There was one like
double
Tombstone and
features.
Wide Earp.
Yes.
It was so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if like some producer like goes to a movie studio and is like, I want to make this movie, and they're like, nah, we don't want to do that. And then he leaves and goes and sells it somewhere else. But the first studio is like, we're just going to steal his idea.
Yes.
And if that's how this happened, but yeah, it happened regularly.
All the time. And they would be released very closely together. Yeah. I had been thinking about the Deep Impact and Armageddon one. I forgot that was 98. But those two were,
It feels like a deep spy conspiracy to me. Like somebody was working at one of the studios and like they're going to make a movie about do. And then the other one had to real quick come up like another marketing meeting.
Yep.
They're like, we have it on good authority that they're doing a volcano movie.
We got Tommy Lee Jones. We got Anne Hayes.
Do they have the subway in it? Do they answer me one question? Do they have the subway in it? If not, that is our movie.
Do they have a guy defying science and walking through lava?
Then we're in. We're in. Green light.
Make it. Here's $500 million.
Yeah, exactly. Oh.
Wow. Well, my next one for 1997 is The Ballad of FenPhen. And it's coming to an end.
Oh, wow.
So on
Beautifully worded. The Ballad
Thank
of
you.
FenPhen.
Yes,
wow.
yes. Because it feels like a ballad. There's a lot going on. On September 15th, FenPhen was a weight loss drug, and it was pulled from the market because of problems relating to heart disease and pulmonary embolism.
Is that because of like the meth
Yeah.
in it?
So FenPhen was, I'm going to try these, okay? Fenfluramine and a related drug, dexfenfluramine, that were combined, and they were hyped as the new great weight loss drug, right? Like everyone's taking them, everyone's losing weight. Oh my God, it's amazing. But it was one of many weight loss treatments that it got really, really popular, and then it was pulled from pharmacy shelves. And there's a great quote from a guy at Harvard Medical School, Peter Cohen, who said, "It's a cycle perpetuated by the FDA. It's been going on since the amphetamines came out in the 20s and 30s, where they rush something through. They're not really thinking about long-term stuff. Oh my God, everyone's buying it. Yay, tons of money. And then, oh shit, there's a hole in your heart." So this started unraveling. Julie Flessis was a critical care nurse, and she turned into an attorney, and she was a key player in the lawsuits that came about because of FenPhen. In fact, in 2002, her law firm hired a group of cardiologists in Kansas City to send echocardiogram technicians to perform ultrasound scans on people who had used FenPhen. And so they set up like testing sites at area hotels and called all of these, mostly women, to this area. And over a period of about a year, they scanned the hearts of more than 2,000 users. Wow. And that data went on to form 175,000 claims against Wyeth, the maker of FenPhen, who Wyeth set aside $21 billion to settle the lawsuits.
Damn. Which tells you how much they made.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, here's a little bit of pocket change that we can get to, settle these. Oh, poor, holes
I'm sorry about your hole in your heart here.
And how much they thought this was going to be a problem.
Yeah.
That clearly ahead of time we're like, something's going to go wrong. We need to earmark some money for this.
The scope of it, the amount of claims that were high, I read some of this in retrospective articles, and some of them were talking to people that used it back in the 90s, and they're still experiencing heart issues. Like, they're having some fucked up side effects still, like almost 30 years later. And what really interested me in it, especially with that quote from that doctor that said that it's a sort of cycle perpetuated by the FDA, it feels like Ozempic might be headed towards a similar reckoning.
Yes.
Because it is the hot drug. Everyone's fucking talking about it. Everyone's on social media hyping it up. But it is so new, and no one's looked at long-term effects. Like, it's supposed to be used for diabetes, right? So how are we affecting our bodies if we're taking Ozempic to, lose a bunch of weight? I'm wondering what's going to be the repercussions of this going forward.
Right.
So it feels like the Ballad of FenPhen might be a, cautionary tale for Ozempic and the like.
It might have a twin movie.
It might have a twin movie.
Yeah, because there's already stuff coming out about people having side effects that they didn't know about.
Exactly.
And
it feels that idea. I don't want to jump into because there's so many conspiracies about the FDA and blah blah blah. But I do think that they probably rush a lot of these things to approval because there's some good data and because we've hyped up this obesity epidemic and, oh my God, is it killing us all? And so they rush these things to market. And it's a case of the treatment being way worse than the actual condition.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't even, for me, I don't think there's a wonder drug for, weight loss. I would never believe in that.
No.
Just because, the way my mind works, if I, only hit 3 stoplights on the way to work, I'm thinking, well, what the fuck's going to happen now?
Exactly.
I can't, the other shoe's going to drop, I can't, if I took some drug and it fixed every problem I have in my life, I would automatically assume, my house is going to burn down or something.
Yes, every twinge you'd be like, I'm having a heart attack.
Yeah.
This is it.
Well, and what's interesting is around this time, I think it was 97 as well, it was the first time that pharmaceutical ads were able to be to be broadcast on TV with a long list of side effects, right? And so we're used to that. We're used to seeing how many side effects a drug has. So why are we not thinking about the side effects? It's just like, oh my God, I got to lose weight. I got to be super skinny. And it's dumb.
It is. It's wild.
And it leads to holes in your heart.
Holes in your heart.
Holes in your heart.
Which are not just easily repairable.
Yeah. And basically, FenPhen was speed. And
they were just marketing the shit out of it.
They're just marketing the shit out of it with a fancy name that, again, marketing team. Why FenPhen? Because in case you don't know, listeners, the first fen in that hyphenated phrase is FEN. The second one is PHEN. FenPhen. So,
Pretty hot and fenny.
So whoever came up with that name.
Because you're going to go from fat to fat.
That should have been the marketing meeting.
That should have been it. They would have sold a lot more speed with that logo.
Tapped into a new market.
Yeah.
I remember my middle school health teacher had a hole in her heart, not from taking FenPhen, I don't think. But she told us that, in class, and she was greeted with a room full of 7th graders just with blank stares on her face. It's like, okay. And I think she thought she was going to get a bigger reaction. All of us were just like, oh, well, you seem fine.
What do you want us to do?
Why are you telling us this?
Yeah.
And is this a parable? Is this like a Grinch story? You have a hole in your heart? Or is this legit? Do you literally have a hole in your heart?
She could claim she did. I didn't see it myself, so who knows?
Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, my last one for 1997 is a toy.
Oh.
And I don't know if I didn't specifically have one, before I tell you what it is. But I will tell you that I bought one this year because they made a comeback, and someone asked for it for Christmas.
Measles? Are we talking about measles?
Measles.
It was
It's the measles.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yes.
This is called a Tamagotchi. Remember these little digital things that were like on a keychain?
I think I thought it was called Yamagotchi. That's another thing. That's
It's this loosely translates to egg watch because it was like a loosely kind of an egg shape, and you hatched a creature that you had to keep alive. It was like the first iteration of Sims in a tiny like digital keychain form. And it was created in Japan in 1996, but it was released in the United States in May of 97. And it was quickly one of the biggest toy fads of the 90s and early 2000s. As of June 2023, 91 million units have been sold worldwide. Oof. So the whole idea is that Tamagotchis are a small alien species that deposited an egg on Earth to see what life was like. And it's up to the player to raise the egg into an adult creature. And they go through several stages of growth and will develop differently depending on the care that the player provides.
So we're raising our killers. We're raising the aliens that are going to kill us.
Yep.
Yes. And
because we're idiots.
Exactly.
Better care from the player results in an adult creature that is smarter, happier, and requires less attention. So if that's not a life lesson, I don't know what is. So that seems like common sense that they put in a video game, yet we fail on a regular basis. They have a hunger meter, a happy meter, and a training meter. It was called the Christmas Gift of the Year in November 1997 by the Swedish Retail Institute. So part of Swedish by the Swedish Retail Institute. In the 90s, children were frequently taking them to school because you couldn't leave them for that long without having to feed them or provide care. And so there was kind of this outpouring from schools that were like, okay, stop bringing your Tamagotchi pets. Like, we literally cannot have kids dealing with these during school. It was an actual problem. And there was one guy in southern England who really cashed in on this, and he set aside a small portion of his pet cemetery for Tamagotchi pets that died, because eventually they grow up and apparently they do die. And he told CNN in 1998 that he had performed burials for Tamagotchi owners from Germany, Switzerland, France, and the United States and Canada, who shipped their dead pet by postal mail. And then he placed them in a little coffin, and their final burying place is topped with flowers.
That can't be good for the ground. I mean, those things must decompose.
Right.
Yeah, not good. No.
Or
And
it's like
I don't think he's really doing it. I think people are mailing him these Tamagotchis. He's like, all right, he throws them in the garbage.
Yeah, he sends the same stock photo back. Here's it with the flowers.
Yeah.
Or maybe he does do it, and it's all part of the plot by the aliens, because once you're buried underground, that's when they come back to life.
You can sprout.
And then they sprout.
Yeah, they're mole people.
Yep.
You're right. This is what it is. So, I mean, I guess good job cashing in on the craze that you had nothing to do with, but still managed to make money on.
Yeah.
That was impressive.
He's an early influencer.
Yeah. I mean, really, that's, kind of blew my mind.
So you kept this thing alive, but then it eventually died?
It died, yeah. It became an adult, had a lifespan.
How long was the lifespan?
I don't. There was, I think I read that there was a record of like someone keeping it alive for like 90 days or something. Like, I don't think it was like a...
So all these kids are buying this toy that then dies on them.
Mm-hmm. And they made a resurgence because Charlie, my granddaughter, asked for one for Christmas and then convinced Mason that he needed one. So I bought two this year. I don't know what they retailed for in 97, but they were like $19.95. I mean, they were like $20 a piece. And the iterations now, Charlie got a unicorn and Mason got a cat. Yeah. So, and Mason lost interest on like day 2. He was like, this is an incredible amount.
This isn't a real cat,
of
Mom.
Responsibility for a keychain. But I think that in this, I don't know if this is how the old one worked, but the new iteration, like, you can reset it and start it over, like regrow it and do. So I don't know if they didn't have a reusable feature before and now they do, or what. But yeah,
I'm just picturing all the people that were like 9 or 10 when this was happening, and they were traumatized.
Yeah,
traumatized hard.
So hard.
They're still dealing with it today.
It's dying. Yeah.
I worked in the electronics department at Target during the holiday season in 1997, and I was very happy to say that Tamagotchis were in the toy department. Because people would come and look for them in electronics a lot. I'd send them over to toys.
And you'd be like, I don't have to deal with any of that Tamagotchi fool tomfoolery.
What were you selling instead of Tamagotchis in
I
1987?
saw a lot of Texas Instruments, graphing calculators,
Yeah.
a lot of boom boxes.
Okay, yes,
Ooh.
yes.
Yep, TVs.
Uh-huh.
I loved it when old men would come in and they'd try to wheel and deal with me like on TV prices, and I'm just like, listen, I get paid $6 an hour whether you buy this TV or not. I am not
Doesn't matter to
authorized
me.
to take $20 off it.
Not authorized.
I have to work 3 hours to get that $20. Nope. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's your last one?
Mine kind of it reminds me a little bit of the last one that there was a pair of movies that I talked about.
Ooh.
This is a pair of people
Oh.
who released the same song in the same year, and that song was "How Do I Live."
How do I live?
Trisha Yearwood and Leanne Rimes
Yeah.
both
Oh,
recorded
that's
that song
right.
in 1997. So, people cover songs all the time, but it's kind of weird when two people release individual versions of the same song at the same time.
And they were both considered country at the time, right?
Right.
So it's the same genre.
Do you have a preference of which one you like better?
I do.
Okay.
I like the Trisha Yearwood version
Me
better.
too.
That was
Me
in
too.
Con Air.
Yes.
Yeah,
I remember that. Yeah.
So Diane Warren wrote the song "How Do I Live" for the movie Con Air, which features one of the best line readings of all time when Nicolas Cage says, "Put the bonnet down." And if you haven't seen the movie, I would check it out just for that.
Also, picture Nicolas Cage with a really long, like, sort of mullet going
Yeah.
on.
Uh-huh.
In his natural state.
Yeah.
The premise of the movie is it's an airplane with a bunch of convicts on it that is flying across the country. And at some point, the convicts take over and the guards are no longer in charge. And,
right.
John Malkovich is
John
in it.
Malkovich.
Yeah.
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 There's some.
And the plane lands on the Las Vegas Strip, and no one dies. Like, everything's fine.
It's very grounded in realism,
Yeah.
that movie. So, yeah.
So, and Diane Warren has been writing songs forever and ever. Like, she's written all sorts of songs that we all are super familiar with. She wrote "If I Could Turn Back Time" that Cher sings. She wrote "Unbreak My Heart" from Tony Braxton.
What? That's my favorite Tony Braxton song of all time.
And she wrote "Blame It on the Rain" by Milli Vanilli.
Whoa! That they didn't sing.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
But somebody sang.
Somebody sang.
Yeah. And she's been nominated for 15 Academy Awards, but she hasn't won yet.
That's
Academy Awards?
Yeah. She was awarded like an honorary Oscar, I think, in the last couple of years, but she's been nominated for Best Song 15 times.
Okay, real quick. Would you be okay if you're her and you've been nominated 15 times, you haven't actually won, and they give you an honorary one? How do you feel about that?
I'd feel annoyed.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's a pity. Oscar.
Yeah, that's what you would feel like, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's an Oscar, but at the same time, like, then just vote for
Yeah,
me and give me
give
the
me the
goddamn
fucking
award.
Oscar.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Like, I don't want your.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, that energy.
You shove your Oscar.
Yeah.
Shove it right up your butt.
Shut right up your butt.
So, Diane Warren writes, "How Do I Live" for Con Air. She's out and about in Hollywood, apparently, and ran into Leanne Rimes and told Leanne that she wrote the song wrote the song with her in mind, and asked her to record it. So Leanne recorded it at the movie studio, which was Disney. They didn't really like it because they thought a 14-year-old singing "How Do I Live Without You"
Fair.
was kind of unconvincing, right?
Yep.
So
That's
Disney,
surprising for Disney.
right? Yeah. It's like Pocahontas was 12 and she was in love with Mel Gibson, right?
Yeah, that's fine. Ariel has to leave her whole family and marry a guy on land. That's fine.
Yeah, it's
but-
fine.
Yeah,
It's fine.
Yeah.
So Disney asked Trisha Yearwood to record it, but she didn't know that Leanne Rimes had already recorded a version of the song, so she's kind of in the dark about all this.
Ew. That's shady.
Ooh.
So Disney loves the Trisha Yearwood version, and that's what's used in the movie. And when Leanne Rimes' record label heard about the Trisha Yearwood version, they were kind of reluctant to release the Leanne Rimes version just because, it's all kind of muddy,
Yeah.
But Diane Warren convinced them to, probably, I assume, because as the songwriter, she stands to make twice as much money if, both versions go out.
Right.
So the Leanne Rimes version was kind of more of a pop version of it and was played on pop radio, and Trisha Yearwood's version was more of a country version that played on country stations. But both the versions of the song were big hits, and they both peaked at number 2 on their respective charts.
Wow.
Which is, interesting.
Yeah.
So at the Grammys, then the next year in 1998, for the first time ever, 2 artists were nominated for performing the same song in the same category in the same year. They both got nominated for their versions of the song.
Really?
Yeah. So the category was Best Female Country Vocal Performance. And again, the Leanne Rimes version kind of wasn't really country-ish, but this is all, the Grammys are kind of make their own rules sometimes.
Yes, they do.
So in a weird twist, Leanne Rimes performed the song on the show, and immediately after her performance, Trisha Yearwood won the Grammy Award for it.
So was this actually a deep, dark plan of Diane Lawrence to embarrass Leanne Rimes?
Maybe. She was maybe just like, grow up, babe.
Oh, I got one for you.
This is how the world works.
Yep.
Sinister plot afoot.
And I mean, I don't know what she said in her acceptance speech, what Trisha Yearwood said, but if I had been her, I would have been smug as hell when I was collecting that award, and I would have just been like, I guess you picked the wrong person to sing on the show, huh?
Yeah.
So, and again, this song was also nominated for Best Original Song, one of her 15 nominations at the Academy Awards that year, and it lost to, My Heart Will Go On from Titanic, because that came out in 97.
Of course.
And another weird twist, it was also nominated for Worst Original Song that year at the Golden Raspberry Awards.
Wow.
So, but it lost that award, too, to a song from the Kevin Costner movie, The Postman.
Which, of course, we remember. Yeah. It's a classic, iconic song.
Yeah, that's a terrific song. It's
there.
Current playlist.
Yep. So, obviously, they chose right on that one.
And it's funny, you were talking earlier about public music, like it gets pumped into like patios and all that kind of stuff that you hear that you don't want to hear. So again, I mentioned Target a few minutes ago. I worked at Target when this was all popular that summer. And I remember the Leanne Rimes version was kind of in heavy rotation in the electronics department. And I don't think I ever grew to actually hate it. But as I pointed out, I liked the Trisha Yearwood version more. And I mean, no one's ever asked me that before today, so I'm glad I had an answer ready for you when you.
It's
when
an
you
important.
I felt like it was an important question.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that we were aligned and we both liked the same version.
Because, like what they said, like it was unconvincing that a 14-year-old was singing about that kind of stuff. Michael, he famously. I don't guess not famously to me. He went to, there was some sort of like talent show or something that he had to go to when he was like in 8th grade or something that he played his French horn at or something. And I remember his family still talks about this sometimes. An 8th grader was singing Save the Best for Last, that Vanessa Williams song. And they were all just like, you're in 8th grade. Like, what are you, like, what, huh?
What are you doing?
This is about a lifetime's worth of stuff.
Of sex.
Yeah. Yep. Feels very appropriate.
Yeah.
Wow.
So good.
There was another, like around this time, maybe 98, 99, where wasn't there like a country band that did a song and like maybe a boy band that did a song?
Yes. John Michael Montgomery and
All for One.
All for One. Yeah, I swear.
Yes. Yep. That felt like another. They came out around the same time, right?
Yes,
and but different genres, so you weren't necessarily hearing both of them.
Right.
So that's so weird that it was in the same.
And All for One was like the poor man's Boys to Men, right?
It really was.
Yes.
It was.
Yeah, it was.
What about And Color Me Bad? They didn't.
Oh,
they were like the discount bin. Boys to Men.
It's like the copy of the copy of the copy.
They were like if Boys to Men was set on someone's curb with a sign that said free.
They were like Russell sportswear compared to Nike.
Yeah.
Well, for my final one, I've got a unique Iowa story from 1997, which is the McCoy septuplets.
Oh, yes.
How did I forget this?
Kenny and Bobby McCoy of Carlisle, Iowa.
They're from Carlisle?
Carlisle.
Oh, my.
Were having fertility issues. So they started treatment with a drug called Metrodin to stimulate ovulation. This is a lot of information that you're getting right now.
I love it.
I thought, can't you just lean against a washing machine and a spin cycle? Won't that stimulate ovulation? That's
what they did after taking the drug to help it along.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So Bobby became pregnant with 7 babies.
Ugh.
No.
7 babies. And they were given, they were offered, like, to take some of them out, but they refused.
Okay.
They were like, nope, give me all 7. So on November 19th, 1987, Bobby gave birth to the septuplets, which were 4 boys and 3 girls. And as I was writing this, Michael reminded me they also had a kid before this. So like there was a younger kid that was suddenly like, oh, 7 siblings, yay.
I just like, it's so stressful to imagine it. Like I can feel that my blood pressure went up.
Yeah. So they were born prematurely via
Shocker.
C-section.
Yeah. You couldn't carry 7 babies to term? That's weird.
And it took 40 medical specialists to deliver the babies.
Oh, God.
And they were all born within 6 minutes of each other. So just imagine like 40 pairs of hands just grabbing all the babies. I hope she was knocked out. I hope she was just not conscious.
How was the operating room even big enough for everybody?
Like, was it just a line?
I'm telling you right now, when you have a baby, it's like a goddamn clown car. You have never imagined the number of people they can fit in that room.
Oh, jeez.
And you're like, why? Who are you now?
So you're just a random vag for everyone to come in and witness.
Mm-hmm. I've told you that story, post-Mason, and then you go to the doctor's office and you're like, I know all your faces. Like, in the moment, you're not with it enough to be like, this is too many people. But then when you walk back in that office and you're like, all of you were there.
Oh, God.
No, thank you.
Well, she had that happen with 40 people.
Yeah, that's
at
absurd.
Least. Yeah.
Absurd.
And, you know, I remember, I imagine we all remember this because it was big news for Iowa. It was also like the first of like multiple birth situations. Like this was before John and Kate +8, before all of that. And they, you know, if I remember correctly, they got like a lot of donations, a lot of goodwill, things like that. But they didn't go the public route. They didn't do reality shows. They didn't do anything like that. And as a result, apparently, you know, the kids are probably pretty normal.
Yeah.
You know, there was never any reports of drugs and weirdness and all the shit. Michael told me that after the McCoy septuplets were born, there was a reporter at the Register whose beat was the McCoys. And like every year they would do a check-in like on the, you know, the
Makes
kids.
sense, yeah.
See how they're doing.
And Curry on NBC, like she did that every year. She followed them a lot.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it wasn't just Iowa news. It was national news.
Yeah.
It may be international because this was a first of a, you know, I mean, that's a shit ton of babies in a womb.
Yeah.
And, you know, there were more that came after that, but it was a situation of, you know, the first time fertility drugs being like, ha ha ha, here you go.
Can you imagine the insufferable questions she got over and over? Like, how are you going to feed 7 babies? Like, just the gross, disgusting, like, repeated stereotypes and tropes that she probably suffered.
And I remember they were on the cover of People magazine.
Yes.
I remember she got a lot of heat about her appearance. Like, there was just this lady who was just this average lady who just had trouble having a kid.
Yeah.
And
She wasn't
all
a
of sudden,
celebrity. Right.
Some asshats are been like, fix your teeth. And it's just like, fuck off.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, and they weren't seeking this attention. They just, it was a whoops, and, you know, a big whoops. I wonder if they told all of them, you guys were our surprise babies.
Yeah. Surprise! Well, at least 6 of them, they say that too.
Yeah, at least 6 of them. Yeah.
Can you imagine that doctor's office visit? Like, we imagine a lot of fake marketing meetings, but that, like, so we did the ultrasound. It worked.
Worked.
You know what? We're going to start with the really, really good news. It was successful.
Worked AF.
Yeah. It's not necessarily bad news. It's just something that we need to keep an eye on. There's 7. You're having a litter.
You're having a litter.
I mean,
seriously.
What?
You're going to poop out a litter because there's a lot of babies.
So many babies. Basically you have one day to process that, because if you're going 7 babies, you know how fast that's expanding.
Yeah.
You better get right in your head within the next couple of days, because your belly's about to explode.
It's a good point, because I think I've mentioned before, like, I remember when my mom went to the ultrasound and found out twins, and she was just wrecked, like, emotionally. Everything. Just thinking about the money, thinking about the time, all of that. So 7? Imagine them going home and being like, so what are we going to do?
So I'm going to make my own baby food. I think we can save some money there.
We're just going to let them shit in the yard. We're not going to do diapers. We're just going to just send them out.
We're just going to plastic everything so we can hose it off, and we're done.
Yeah. So the McCoy septuplets, they started something big, but they were sort of the originals. They didn't, like I said, they didn't do the reality show, all of that. Maybe she got a little taste of that fame from People magazine, and she's like, fuck this. I don't want people talking about my appearance.
Yeah.
I'm just going to raise these 7 fucking kids.
And those kids are all like, what, 27 now or something like that? They're almost 30.
Jeez.
I do wonder, like, and we've talked about John and Kate plus 8 in kind of a funny tone, but like, you know how twins will often have like their own unique bond, and that can manifest in a lot of ways, but just the fact that you're growing up together in such close proximity, I wonder what it was like for 7 of them to have this unit and then have this other sibling just sort of outside that unit,
that had to be really hard for that other sibling.
And I know that happened with John and Kate too, right? They had an older...
I think they had
twins.
I think they had twins, and then they had 6.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they kind of had another one.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that poor sibling just sort of like, well, you guys are going to do your thing.
Also, I was just thinking about like how the activities like you sign your kids up for, like they're just their own team.
Yeah.
Like if they're in any kind of recreation or...
Yeah, can you imagine like if one kid wants soccer, sorry, you're all doing soccer.
Yeah. I mean, how would you get to all the different... You couldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. Like single-handedly kept the Carlisle School District in.
I sure did.
Out of the red.
Yep. Each grade is just the McCoys.
We need another teacher just for the McCoys. Wow, I forgot. I had forgotten they were from Iowa somehow.
Yeah.
Wild. What a year 97 was.
Year. There was a lot more, too. Things
So
that
much
we didn't
more.
get to.
I
We'll
love
get
that
to
none
in
of
the
us
future.
brought up the Titanic.
Yeah.
We just all stayed away from
I'm
that.
surprised none of us brought up Heaven's Gate. I was thinking about
I
bringing
did.
it up.
I did as well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one.
Which just means we have fodder for a future episode about 1997.
There'll be a part 2, just so you know.
So what do you think we learned from 1997? That it's okay to do 2 movies at once, 2 songs at once. Your idea is not original.
Yep.
It can be stolen.
Yeah.
That Leanne Rhymes a fucking baby.
Is a baby.
Yeah.
Baby.
A baby.
And, maybe don't use fertility drugs.
Or anything else that the FDA says is okay.
Yeah.
Like FenPhen. Yeah.
Your body's okay the way it is.
Yes.
Don't use
Don't
weird
use FenPhen.
drugs.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
You don't want a hole in your heart like
You don't
He's
want a hole in
science
your
teacher.
heart.
Nope.
That's a good thing to leave on. Just try not to get a hole in your heart, okay?
hang
If
on
you
for
don't-
2 more weeks.
If you don't have a hole in your heart, you're doing great. All right?
great.
You're doing great.
You're doing great.
If you need more good advice from us, just like and subscribe.
And if you can't tell, this past week, a listener sent in a check and asked us to talk about holes in hearts. So
Yes.
that's what your dollar's at work.
Yep.
Well, that's all
You
gotta
can do that too.
Yeah, done.
Fuzzy Memories is a Broads and Books production. It's hosted by Heath Smith, Aaron Johnston, and Amy Lee Lillard. The show is produced by Amy Lee Lillard. Follow us at Fuzzy Memories Pod on Instagram for clips and highlights. And follow us at Broads and Books Productions for updates on new shows coming your way. See you next time. Side note, I was thinking too, at some point we could maybe re-release some of our our trio episodes of Broads and Books. We're recording them our threesomes.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think we all signed waivers.
Yeah, sure. So first we have to have the threesome, and then we'll record it, and that'll be the bonus. But also,